Hello, welcome to the next part of our lesson about what makes a new species. And so in this set of slides, you're just going to kind of work your way through trying to understand what makes a species a species. So here's a series of pictures of different animals, and just looking at them, which ones do you think are different species and which ones are similar, just a different version? So to better understand that, you'll just kind of go to this video over here and answer some questions. Just summarize it. And then in this video, this is the definition. So once you've watched the video, would you bold your answer in this example? How would you define the species? And then finally, let's look at polar bears versus grizzly bears. And what you do is just during the videos, listen for what do they eat and where do they live and how do they look. You're welcome to use other resources around the web. Then finally, go ahead and which definition would you use here in this example about something called a growler bear? And then this is what causes species, something called reproductive barriers. And then what we can do is make family trees or something called phylogenetic trees. So we can use physical characteristics, we can use genetics, or we can use behavior. So I have here 4 minions, Stuart, Dave, Jerry, and Tim. And if you'll notice, there are some things they all have in common. For example, goggles and clothes and overalls. And there are some things that are a little different. Maybe it's the number of eyes or their hairstyle. So what we can do is using their physical characteristics, we can create what is called a phylogeny tree or a branching tree. So we'll use eyes, and you'll notice Stuart has 1, everyone else has 2. Then there's how tall they are. That puts Tim separate from Dave and Jerry. Then what is the difference between Dave and Jerry? Well, it's their hair. One has spiked and one is just parted. Well, we can also look at the minion's DNA if we want. So we can look at their enzymes in mitochondria, and we find that there's some differences between Stuart, Tim, Dave, and Jerry. And I've highlighted them in green. So Stuart is 4 differences from Tim, Dave, and Jerry. And Tim is 3 differences between Dave and Jerry. And finally, Dave is 1 difference from Jerry. So in doing so, we can now use the DNA differences to figure out how they compare. So in this case, I have 4 differences between Stuart and everyone else. I have 3 differences between Tim and everyone else. And then I have 1 difference between Dave and Jerry. And that's how I've set it up. So you're going to do the same thing with the bear's DNA. I would like you to find where there's a difference in the DNA sequences between each of those, and you'll fill in the gray box. So, for example, how many differences did you find between the panda and the black bear? And you would put it here into that box. I've blacked out these because you don't need to fill those in. You just need to fill in the gray versions. Okay, once you've done that, then I'd like you to go ahead and move these pictures around so that you can figure out where they go. Okay, once you've completed that, would you then go to the CER, and then would you now answer this question? Now, you can use any evidence you want, anything from the video, anything from the internet, any kind of statement. You can use the family tree or phylogeny, and then give me your reasons why you think grizzly bears and polar bears are the same or different species.